Right, good afternoon, guys. It's Darren from Jace Media, and we'll have a special interview this afternoon. We have, I would say, rock royalty in the house, in the forum of the one and only Mr. Tom Russell, the godfather of rock, and a man who I feel privileged to call a friend. I've known Tom a long time. And next year, hopefully it doesn't mind me saying this, but next year Tom will have been on the radio for 40 years. So good afternoon, Tom. It's a pleasure to speak to you today, and thanks for joining us at Jace Media.
Not at all. Nice to talking to you in this lovely sunny afternoon. 40 years, it's frightening when you think about it. 40 years, but it's flown past.
Have you enjoyed it? Has it been 40 years of like non-stop laughs? Has it been years of heartache? Has it been just a blast? Has it been some disappointments? Have you just taken it in your stride?
The roller coaster ride, Darren. It's up and down. 1 minute you're at top of the world. You're doing an interview with Bruce Dickinson or Ozzy Osbourne or the guys from ZZ Top. And then the next minute, your boss at the radio station says, listen, Tom, I don't think there's enough people listening to your show now. It's not really suitable for the radio station. So we don't want any more of this Iron Maiden and Guns N' Roses stuff. We want the Eagles and we want Fleetwood Mac. Oh, all right, very good. But then it's like a sine curve. It goes up and down the career.
Yeah.
But all in all, it's been a blast.
It's, I think, a lot of the listeners will have followed you through the years. 1981, when you joined Radio Clyde, and your dulcet tones hit the airwave on a Friday night, and I think everybody just really enjoyed, the couple of hours that you were on the air, showcasing new tracks, playing the old favourites, reminiscing about the gigs you've been to and stuff, and I think people really enjoyed that, and I think it resonates with a lot of people, me myself as well. As I say, I've known you for a long time. I've got a privilege of calling you a friend. We spoke a lot about gigs and stuff, and I think there's nothing better than a good old rock concert.
Well, the thing is, back in the early 80s, the access, media-wise, to rock music was extremely limited. It's quite interesting when you talk to younger people nowadays. They just can't imagine, they can't fathom a world where music, videos, information wasn't readily available at the press of a button or a click of a mouse. In the early 80s, most people get introduced to, or late 70s, most people get introduced to rock music because their big brother was listening to it, or their dad liked it, or a pal at school, brought in an album, and it was like, wow, that's a smashing album cover. That who's that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Led Zeppelin, or whatever, and that's how you get sort of introduced to rock music. There was almost no rock music played on the daytime radio. There was very, very few radio stations around.
About at that time, yeah.
And very few opportunities to hear a bit of rock music on the radio. Tommy Vance, the late great Tommy Vance, did a show every Friday evening from 10 till 12 on Radio 1, and he played this stuff, but that was only 2 hours per week. And of course, he was based in London, was very rarely ever in Scotland, wasn't particularly interested in Scotland. So when I got the opportunity of doing a show once a week, I was honoured, but I was also very, very lucky that the potential audience that was out there, they started listening fairly quickly because it was the only chance they had to hear something new from Black Sabbath or Deep Purple or whatever, AC/DC or whatever. Even television back in those days, there was MTV hadn't even been invented, never mind anything else. So you just did not hear it. So Tommy Vance and myself and a few other guys like myself dotted about the country. There was a fellow in Manchester, one in Newcastle, my pal Jay in Edinburgh, Bristol. There was different guys on local commercial stations. Had a wee 2 hours a week, and we tried to keep the flag burning.
Yeah, it's. I kind of think that, you know, that you sometimes don't understand why there isn't a wider audience. You know, the rock scene in Scotland, you know, from yourself and from people like Donald MacLeod and people like Shock City Boys, Gordon and Peter, who are trying to bring rock music back to the fore for fans, hard rock fans, heavy rock fans, metal, death metal fans, and trying to get something for everyone, you know. And you kind of you have a wee bit of dismay when you look at all the news journals that's coming through, all these pop stars, and everybody goes mad, and yet they put a bit of rock on and people think, well, turn that off, or who would listen to that rubbish, you know? And you kind of think that, yes, it has a genre of its own, but it's like you've said earlier on, it's like a family, you know, that everybody knows everyone, everybody just wants to have a good time, and everybody just wants to invite everybody to Scotland, because everybody knows that Scottish audiences love a good night out.
The thing is, Dan, as you probably know, not every day is a rock fan. Not every day ever will be a rock fan.
Yeah.
Not everybody's a fan of ballet or opera or jazz or country and western. Everyone has their own thing.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people, if you take 100 people, the vast majority of them will be pop fans. Pop is short for popular. It's the new single from Robbie Williams or Adele or whatever the pop artists these days. The vast majority, and we accept that. All I've always tried to champion for all my years is a little fair crack of the whip for the rock scene, so that when, you know, Alter Bridge bring a single out, why not give it a little bit of play on daytime radio? Because not everybody that's listening to daytime radio just wants to hear pop. There's some of them want to hear rock, some want to hear country, some want to hear opera. Maybe not opera for daytime radio, but why not?
Listen, I think everybody, you're right, everybody deserves a fair crack at the whip, but I think that you're right, and you're right with the genre, it's everybody likes popular music, but it's nice to have a wee bit of rock in there at some point. Now, I guess, leading on to the next set, is that you're obviously doing, or trying to do that with Rock Sport Radio.
Well, I've been working for Rock Sport Radio. I worked for Radio Clyde for 20 odd years. And
28 years, Tom, 28 years.
Was it as many as that? 28. Then I worked for Rock Radio, 96.3 Rock Radio in Glasgow, which was a huge success. But for various circumstances, it didn't happen in the end and disappeared. Main reason being that they opened a second station in Manchester about a year after the Glasgow one, and they sort of took over the whole thing, and it just watered the whole thing down. Anyway, that's history. And after Rock Radio, there was Real Excess, and then XFM for a while, but I hated XFM, didn't like it at all.
Yes.
It was... and then I got a chance to join Rock Sport, which was something different. Playing a bit of rock music and sometimes interviewing. Instead of interviewing Ozzy Osbourne, I was interviewing maybe a golfer or a tennis player or a football manager. So it was a wee
bit diverse.
Yeah, but I was still able to persuade the then head of music to slip the odd new rock song onto the playlist. And what I played in the evenings was always my choice. It's always... I'm very much in favour of the presenter selecting the music.
Having his own selection. Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
So Rock Sport was 4 or 5 years, whatever it was. But last year, towards the end of last year, Rock Sport went under. And the the sort of basics of it were bought over by a new company, a Glasgow-based company who are very experienced in the music business. They do PA hire and all sorts of stuff to do with that, and promotions. And they decided to launch the station, build new studios for us, radio studios, and a video suite. So when artists are coming in, we'll do video interviews and even acoustic sessions. And they were just about to launch the new station sort of February, going into March, when of course the lockdown hit us.
Yes.
And it just blew everything out of the water. So what the bosses decided was, well, it's not a very good time to launch a new station with all this that's going on. Let's just take a step back, get it all right, get the team together, get everything correct, and then launch. So we'll launch on the 3rd of August, 2020. Looking forward to it. Everything's in place. The radio station's going to be called The Max, MAX.
Okay.
I'm going to be on 3 nights a week, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night, playing the usual selection of some new rock, some well-known stuff, some new artists, some unsigned artists. Just mix it all up.
Yeah, mix it up. Yeah, excellent. Is it going
The
to
rest of the evening will be the rest of the weekly evening shows will be presented by colleagues who will also be playing rock music. During the day, it will be a lighter brand of rock music and a bit of sport as well. We're carrying on with the sport. So we'll be,
good.
We'll be doing mainly sport during the day with some rock music, and at night it'll all just be rock music.
Rock. So it's kind of in the same kind of vein as rock radio to a certain extent.
No, it'll be more slightly in the vein of rock sport.
Okay.
Rather than rock radio, more like rock sport, but with a little less sport than we had on rock sport. And the bosses, the guys that run it, they're really good guys, and they've got all sorts of terrific plans. They've already built a website, which MD can look at. It's myplayer.uk. Just type that in, myplayer.uk, and not only will you have interviews and videos from the likes of myself interviewing bands doing sessions and things, but we'll also have guests. For example, if you do an interview with an up-and-coming band, and you'd like to widen the number of people that look at it, you can access myplayer.uk. You can put your interview on there. There will be an invigilator. There'll be some guy have a look at it, and as long as it's of a reasonable standard, you know. If it's Mickey interviewing the Mousies, then we'll maybe I'll maybe not make the grade, but I'm pretty sure any of Darren's interviews, if you want to put them on there and get a bigger audience, then you're more than welcome. And it'll be all sorts of music.
That's fantastic, Tom. That's a nice. I think it's a nice thing to do as well. You're kind of, you know, like looking out for the little guy as well, you know, and trying to build them up, which is quite nice as well, because you get a lot of people who go, no, it's only just as it's doing an interview, it's only as it's talking, it's only as it's playing stuff, you know. And the fact that you guys are having that platform where people can post stuff is a fantastic idea as well, because it's you know, it's sharing the love, you know, and getting the wider audience for everyone, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. You'll be having a jolly, Tom. Is there going to be a jolly when it kicks off? Because obviously that's all we want to know.
Well, there was talk, but obviously with the social distancing and the guys that own the station, they own a club in Sauchiehall Street called the Blue Arrow, which is a smashing club. We did the launch of Zell Clemenson's album,
the Sin
Dogs album, a couple of years ago in that club, and it's a great club. It's Sauchiehall Street's down in a basement, so I suspect there will be a party,
some sort of shenanigans.
There'll be something, and I will be well open to bribery for tickets and free passes to that particular party.
Excellent, Tom. I'm sure I'll be nudging you for that. So, taking you back, what was your first ever gig that got you into listening to
Well,
music? Or
I wasn't very old. I was an only child, and I think I was about maybe 12, 13, something like that. My dad was a commercial traveller, which was the old-fashioned term for a sales rep. He sold chocolate. He worked for Suchard and Lindt chocolate.
wow,
And he came home one night, Monday, Tuesday or something like that, 5:30 from his work. And my mum, who also worked during the day, she was making the tea, and Dad came in and says, "Oh, Grace, what you get anything you fancy tonight? Anything fancy doing tonight?" And my mum says, "No, I don't think so." And he says, "I'll get these 2 complimentary tickets for a concert tonight at the Odeon in Glasgow in Renfield Street. There's a shop next door, R.S. McCall's, and they buy tons of chocolate Easter eggs and things from me. And they gave me these 2 tickets today, some band that are playing." And my mum says, "Oh, Jimmy, I can't be bothered. I've been working all day and I've got an ironing to do. Why don't you take Tom?" And I'm sitting on the couch there munching my beans and toast. And Dad says, "Oh, what do you think, son? Do you fancy coming?" And I said, aye, sure. Now, this is the early 60s. And going back to what I was saying earlier on about the lack of opportunities for people to hear rock music, there was an even bigger lack of touring bands, live venues. It tended to be local bands playing in the Maryland or the Lundella or some of these clubs in Glasgow. But there wasn't, like there is now, bands almost every night of the week coming to play in big venues. So I went along with my dad to the Odeon in Renfield Street. Hadn't a clue what I was going to see, and on it comes. My abiding memory of the night was that you couldn't hear a note. The place was absolutely rampacked full. It's a cinema, the Odeon Cinema, but they used to occasionally have concerts there. And my other, probably more memorable memory of the evening was all these girls running to the front of the stage and politely removing their underwear and throwing it onto the stage. And for a 13-year-old boy, this was quite an eye-opener. Maybe even a thigh opener.
Possibly, Tom, possibly.
But I went home that night and I thought, this is the business I want to get into. And the band were actually called the Beatles. It was the Beatles playing a show at the Odeon. But as I said, I hardly heard a note for all the screaming.
And I think much like yourself, you know, I've spoken to loads of my mates and said to them, "Oh, I used to go to the Apollo," and they're like, "Where's that?" And I said, "Oh, down at in the centre of the town. Do you know what Walkabout is?" And they're like, "Yes, that used to be a gig venue." And they're like, "What do you mean?" I said, "Oh, I've seen everybody there. You know, I'm very lucky, and I rhyme off all these names." And the guys go, "No, never heard of them. Didn't even know there was a place there." And much like yourself, Tom, I feel very privileged and honoured that, you know, you saw bands like ZZ Top, you know, the Maiden, you know, your Deep Purples, your AC/DCs, your Motorheads, your Whitesnakes, you know, and you kind of thought, this is the place. Status Quo, you know, memorably were shaking the balcony, almost coming off its fixings, because the place was just run down. It was manky, but it was the home of rock music, and, you know, a place that you could, as a safe haven to go and enjoy. You know, I saw my first gig there when I was 11, much like yourself. My dad's friend was the head of security, and he said, "There's a band on the night, get the big man down." And I was like, unfortunate, I was like a long streak of piss, the wedge haircut and all that, and you know, it looked like a pretty boy. So I got my t-shirt and my jeans on the way down to the Apollo, knocked on the big blue door at the back, as you do, took me through the corridor and everything, thrust me through the curtain, and you got all these nutcases with cut off denim jackets, tattoos and long hair and beards, and lights came down, music comes on. I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. And I said we popped his head out the curtain and went, "Do you enjoy that?" I went, "Yeah." I said, "Who was it?" And he said, "Well, that was AC/DC." And I thought, much like yourself, this is what I want to do. This is the music I
That
want
was
to.
you hooked. That was you hooked.
The music I want to follow, and kind of gone on to that. I think the first time you and I crossed paths, way back, I think when Kiss played the Apollo and they had Bon Jovi as support, and I think I was my recollection a long time ago. I was talking to Gene Simmons because I was doing doing the roadie and putting the stuff on the stage, but didn't know who he was because he didn't have any makeup on. And I think you were in the box with me as well, and your mouth was open because you're thinking, I'm like, I knew a big man. He was chatting away to me. I went, I'll catch you later, and he walked off, and you're like, who that is? I'm like, no idea. And it was like Gene Simmons because he was no makeup on, and you kind of think these are the things that you miss, you know, that bands who come close to you, guys who just, you know, they're there and you're just chatting away, much like yourself. You know, you're in the category of rock royalty as far as the people you've met, you know, and the places you've been to, and who regards you in high esteem. You know, your Slashes of this world, your Joe Elliott's of this world, your Alter Bridges of this world who take you in high esteem. And you know, and I for one as well do the same, because as I say, I think you're a pioneer for rock music, and I think a lot of people you would have a lot to thank you for, because you brought the music to the front, and you're continuing to do so. And for me, I can only thank you for that, Tom, because you've introduced me to a lot of music. And as I say, we've shared many a beer and spoke about the good old days. We've even swung a club together, very badly, but we'll hopefully do that again at some point. So, you know, it's just been for me, it's been a roller coaster ride. I mean, it's been 45 years for me of listening to rock music, and you know, 35 years for me listening to rock music, been to all the cracking big shows, been privileged enough to go to places like Brazil to see Queen, you know, Australia to see INXS and bands like that, and you know, and this is all for people like yourself who get you into that. I remember visiting your shops. I bought Number of the Beast from your shop for £3.49 back in the day. Went home and played
You
it.
were done.
I think I was done, Tom, but obviously because it was you, I let it slide, because you know you walk into the shop and you're there and you're thinking, wow. And I remember you having black hair. There you go. That's how long ago it was, Tom.
Black hair and no hair.
But you know, it's just a phenomenal ride. It's just been brilliant. You know, as I say, you look at your guest of honor. You know, your role of, you know, you've been in movies, you've been on TV. You know, you've interviewed the wildest man in rock, and we all know who that is, Mr. Chris Glenn, who nobody can keep up with. You know, you've got your these are all excerpts for the book and stuff like that. You know, your quietest man in rock is Brian May, and your most biggest pain in the arse, as we know, is Mr. Mick Hucknall. But I think you get people like that who maybe think they're better than anybody.
Could I just take an opportunity to just give my book a wee plug at this stage, Dan, just in case.
You need to hold it up, Tom, and show the viewers this book.
Brought the book out a couple of years ago. It's one of these things people had said to me for 20 years, you know, even from the early noughties. Oh, you should write a book, Tom. You know, some of these stories are great stories, and you've had a great life, you've had an interesting life, you should write a book. And I used to say, great idea. I definitely will. But you know what it's like with these things? You procrastinate and you say, I'll get around to it. I will get around to it. But you never do. And another 5 years passes, another 10 years passes. And I'm so glad that I met Paul Murdoch, because if I hadn't, I would still probably be answering the question when, like Darren said, Tom, all your stories, you should write a book. I'd probably still be saying, I know, I'll get around to it one of these days. And I met Paul, and it was him that said, you know, I've done a couple of books. I can give you a hand with it. I can, help you structure it. And then Martin Keelty put the finishing touches to it for me. And it's called The Godfather of Rock, which sounds very pretentious. But a choice of two.
Not at all.
I had a choice of two titles for the book: Godfather of Rock or The Beard of Doom, which is two nicknames that people have had for me over the years. And we decided on The Godfather of Rock, and it's done pretty well. quite pleased. It's still in print, and you can get it.
It's an interesting read, Tom. And I think if people, will be good enough to go and buy it, I think there'll be, I think it gives you an insight into the life of certainly a radio presenter, but also like a kind of rock star, because you're
not just that, Dan. When I sat down with Paul, and he says, right, let's start. Where were you born, and what was your childhood? And I'm saying, oh no, nobody will be interested in that. They'll be interested in my stories. Partying with Ozzy Osbourne, or flying to Los Angeles to interview Rick Rubin, or stories like that.
Yeah.
And Paul says, no, Tom, honestly, let's start at the beginning, and people will be interested in the other side of Tom Russell. So I did, and I told stories about, when I was in the parachute regiment, and a couple of years in the paras, when I used to drive a stock car just for 1 year, and things like that people didn't know.
Never knew about you, Tom.
And I think it's had quite a reasonable reaction. It's sold reasonably well. As I say, you can get it in Kindle. Lots of the libraries in Scotland have stocked it, so you can get it out of the library, and it's still for sale.
It made you a millionaire yet, Tom? Not yet.
Not yet. I'll let you know when I get there.
Yeah, when you drive past me in your big gold Rolls Royce, I know you've made it. But I think you're right. Much like and it's as I keep saying, it's a privilege to talk to you, because you kind of learn some traits, you learn some techniques and how to do interviewing, and when to talk and when not to talk, and it's really nice, and I appreciate your time. But I think you're right that people want to know about the Tom Russell who's away from the limelight. You were born and all of a sudden you've been thrust into the limelight of being a rock presenter. People want to know what you've done. Were you a brickie? Did you work in a shop? How many birds did you have? And I think people are interested in that because they want to get to know Tom Russell, the man who kind of leapt from schoolboy seeing the Beatles to where he is now. And I think it's an interesting read. It's a really, really good book. And as I say, I was privileged enough to be at the launch, and we had a right all good night. And as I say, you could probably write another one. You probably could.
After another 20 years, maybe.
20 years on your new station, Tom.
If Vera Lynn can live to 103, I think I can as well.
Well, Tom, I'm sure. Listen, I'm absolutely sure that everybody will be glued to the airwaves when it comes on, and I myself will be there as well. I'll be a staunch supporter of it, because I believe in what you're doing. I believe in trying to get rock back onto the airwaves in any way, shape or form, as an art form as it is. I think this year is a total washout for everything. I think gigs cancelled left, right and centre, and I think that for guys like you and guys like me, I mean, I'm reviewing all day long, different genres of music: heavy metal, death metal, rock, punk, soul, jazz, country, and I feel quite privileged that I get to do that, and you get to know what's coming up, and I think that's what's good about when you launch. I think you'll have that privilege as well of letting people know what's coming up, what's out there. Because I think.
Did you get a chance to listen to that band I was telling you about the other day?
Yes. My boss sent to me and he goes, "It's an absolutely awesome album." And I stuck it on. I thought, wow, it's just so different. Do you know what I mean?
The band we're talking to, folks, is talking about is the Who, spelled H-U. They're Mongolian, and To be honest, I never thought I'd be plugging a rock band from Mongolia, but this band have just got something, just their sound. And this is one of the cases where what we were talking about earlier on, the myplayer.uk, the website for the
Yes.
new radio station. If you go on there, there's various videos that I've stumbled across that I've put up on my player already and will continue to do so. And one of them is this, The Who, HU, and Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach. Jacoby is guesting on the particular song, and you can click on myplayer.uk and you just scroll down to the Tom Russell Show, and you can see that video from The Who. It's a belter.
Yeah, it's an absolutely awesome album, and as I said, and again, that's you putting me onto something, Tom, that, you know, like you say, you would never think about it. You know, I was listening to a band from Seoul called Bursters. They are kind of Linkin Parkish. There's about 12 of them, and they have a guy on stage with doing the mixing desk and things like this, and you kind of think, I bet you it's mince. But you know what? You know, they've got 1.2 million fans in their fan club. And I was quite, you know, taken aback that when I did the review, that the 1.2 million listeners or the 2 million fans actually got to see my review. And you kind of think, wow, that someone's going, you know, from Seoul to listen to someone from a wee mad Scottish guy, you know, waxing
lyrical. What are they called
lyrical.
again? The Korean band?
Bursters, B-U-R-S-T-E-R-S, Bursters.
U-R-S-T.
E-R-S, Bursters, B-U-R-S-T-E-R-S, Bursters, they're called, Tom.
Okay. I'll check them out.
Yeah, check them out. They're just, they're kind of, as I say, they're Linkin Park-esque, but they're heavy rock, and it's, you kind of sit back and you think, wow, that's quite an interesting sound. And you know, this is what's good about this: you get to hear and listen to different genres. You know. So
I'm just sitting here thinking. I'm looking at, you know how when you're doing this Zoom call, you can actually, there's a little picture of yourself. I'm just sitting thinking that with this new radio station that we're launching, called the Max, I'll need to change my tattoo.
You'll have to get rid of that, Tom.
No, I'll not get rid of it. I don't know if I can change it, or I'll maybe go to the other side and get the Max or something put on there.
Maybe get an arrow. Maybe get an arrow for this side to here and go, look, there's the other one. Listen, Tom, I appreciate your time. We've been on here for probably 40 minutes. I really appreciate you sharing your stories. I appreciate giving me your time. I know you're a busy man. I'm sure we'll catch up pretty soon at another event or a gig, or we'll be sharing stories about bands to listen to. I will certainly go onto myplayer.uk and have a look at it, and maybe pump a couple of wee interviews on there if and maybe have a wee look at them for me and tell me what you think, if I'm doing good, bad and different, because it's always a pleasure to get someone else's feedback.
You're more than welcome to do it, Dan.
I appreciate that, Tom.
Especially some of the up and coming unknown acts that you've been chatting with. Get them up there so more people can see them.
Certainly will. This is Darren from Jace Media in conversation with the godfather of rock, Tom Russell. It's been a pleasure, Tom. We will put this onto the website in the next day or two, and we'll get you out there, and we'll get more sales of that book for you to make you the millionaire you want to be. It's been a pleasure, Tom. You stay safe, and we will chat soon.
Cheers, Dan.
Thank you. Cheers, Tom.